It's a Conspiracy is a ground member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. For other fun programming, please check out albertapodcastnetwork.com, where you can find shows like A Branded World.
Awesome. Rolling.
What's going on, gentlemen?
I got a drink.
Yeah. Hanging out. Oh, you got a drink? Yeah.
Little drink.
Episode 16, the music special, part 1. Welcome back, everyone, to It's a Conspiracy. This is the podcast where we lay out the beliefs behind select conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. I'm your host, Andrew, and I do not claim to be an expert on anything we're going to discuss today, and will probably be wrong about everything as usual because there just aren't enough hours in the day to get things done.
Sure,
we're supposed to make hay when the sun shines, and I'm allergic to the sun, so curse
I'm allergic
you.
to hay.
Curse you, sun. Yeah. Do you guys sunburn easily? You probably see. I burned up.
I got a bit of sun today, actually. It feels great.
I went outside.
Yeah, it does.
Breaking.
But you're a tanner. You're not a burner, right? You're a tanner?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're from Full House?
Right there.
You got it, dude.
Yeah, I burn to tan.
Man.
You know? Like I have to burn and let it fade into a blotchy red mess that I can kind of call a tan.
Is that called
You should get a serious tan on your face and then like shave your head, shave your beard, and just have like just a mask. That would be
The tan mask.
If you'd like to see where we dug up whatever third-degree burns we're going to discuss today, then please check out the resources in the episode description. Charlie applies ointment on those sweet babies episode after episode, and he has a very gentle bedside manner, and I appreciate that.
Very good.
Lastly, we are a very proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB Team.
Yay!
Woo!
You can check us online at our website. It's conspiracypodcast.com. Twitter at Is It a Conspiracy? That's run by the Irish Madman. The Facebook group, the Instagram page, that's run by Greg. It's a Conspiracy Podcast. Our email and our Patreon page, patreon.com/It's a Conspiracy.
The conspiracy.
Me. Joining the online distance communication time today is Charming Charlie, Gorgeous Greg, and all the way from Charlie's Judas podcast is our pal Quinn Clark. So good to have you, man.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Hi, Quinn. Woo.
Hi. Hey, Greg. Hey,
buddy.
Charlie.
Have you been with us since the Centurion, or was that the last time you were on with us here?
Let me see. Yeah, that would have been over a year ago now. Oh, on our Patreon. Plug for patreon.com/learning to listen, where if you want to hear the Centurion cast, that's where it's at.
I was just going to say that we can stick in your promo clip right here.
Hey, this is Quinn.
And Charlie.
And Naomi.
We got a podcast together.
What's it called?
It's called L2L, Learning to Listen, because that's what we're trying to do. We're learning, we're listening. What do we talk about? We talk about love, sex, all kinds of stuff.
Poop.
Pop culture.
Bidets.
Muppets.
Chicken. We like to talk about really weird stuff sometimes.
Hey, you can join in the conversation as well. You can find us where?
On Spotify.
iTunes.
Stitcher. You can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Every Tuesday, you can join us and learn to listen.
That's L2L every Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Where was I here? So we are on Zoom. And we're all doing this zooming away, so I appreciate the company. It's a weird format. I'm trying to look at my iPad and look at you guys at the same time. So
You can tell. Yeah. You haven't even noticed Quinn's picture yet for you.
Thank you. That's put me in the mood.
Thought you'd appreciate
My drop
that.
down, I got a little mic. Oh, that's good.
Man.
That's real good. He's not
A little inside baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, so like last episode, we were going to switch up the format a little bit. I've got a theory. Quinn has a theory, and we'll present those. And Charlie and Greg will just kind of interject as they see fit.
Have a drink.
Yeah, I'm actually. You told me once what you wanted to talk about, but I sort of remember the basics. But
really?
We'll just have a quick. We'll have a quick rundown of it. But I'll ask Charlie if he's heard of mine. You can ask him if he's heard of yours. So Charlie, with a yes or no, can you tell me if you have heard of this theory?
Go.
Why did Johnny Cash wear black?
Yes, but I don't know if it's going to be. If my thing in my head is going to be the same thing as you say. So.
He did write a song.
Oh, he did.
About
we're
it.
going to talk about the song. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Quinn, what do you got?
Oh, that Michael Jackson was a modern day castrato.
Oh.
Ooh.
Like they cut up.
Now, I know, Andrew, I brought this up to you when you first told me you were doing this podcast. I was like, we were arguing about what counts as a conspiracy theory, and you kept saying, like, oh, that the Rolling Stones are still alive. And I'm like, that's not a conspiracy. And I was like, a conspiracy is Michael Jackson is a modern day castrato.
That's a great theory, man.
Please describe or define the word castrato. Or should we just wait for the actual...
Let's stick it in when he does his section. Webster's dictionary defines
well,
it.
that's a little tough for castratos, but we'll get into it.
Okay, cool. So this is subject number 1. Why did Johnny Cash wear black? Okay, Charlie, I've got a quick joke for you here. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Cash.
Cashew.
Gazoon tight. Okay,
You're a nut.
Write it in, fellers, if I may. Can I get you guys to imagine Johnny Cash for a second? We've probably all got the same version in our head. Rugged-looking guy, acoustic guitar, deep voice, and draped head to toe in black. Now, here's a couple of lyrics from JC's song, The Man in Black. Will you wonder why I always dress in black? Why you never see bright colors on my back? And why does my appearance seem to have a somber tone? Well, there's a reason for the things that I have on. I wear the black for the poor and the beaten down, living in the hopeless hunger side of town. I wear it for the prisoner who's long paid for his crime, but is there because he's a victim of his times. It's a very powerful imagery, very powerful.
What did I tell you about reciting hip hop on the show?
Yeah, and that's why I don't. That's why I don't hip or hop.
Rapper.
2008, Roseanne Cash, that's Cash's eldest daughter, was asked about the song "Man in Black," and she was quoted as saying, "There's so many levels to it. One is saying, I'm wearing this symbol for the downtrodden and the poor. The other was much more subtle to me. It reflected the sadness, the convulsions, and, oh yes, the mythic dark night of the soul that he went through so many times."
He's saying he's Batman?
Yeah, I know. I can't. I was like, oh.
Also, that impression was dead on.
Thank you. Doesn't that sound like someone who grew up in...
I closed my eyes. I'm like, Roseanne Cash is on this.
Roseanne
Cash.
It's just like, my heart is so tortured and void. I'm empty. Just kill me now. I'm Johnny Cash.
I'm Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Now,
Joker.
He's got a real... Yeah. That's quite the reply. And there's the theory here, the alternative account of this would be there's a simpler reason, a very basic reason about JC wearing black. Okay, so first of all, and the movie Walk the Line does touch on this, when he was starting up the group, his bandmates only had one color in common. They all had black clothes. Also, much more poignant, Cash was a real sweaty guy, and black clothes are the only sweat-safe color. Now, you guys know me. I feel like I can speak on this subject with some level of authority here. I have sweat through the rainbow of fabrics, and what you really need if you're a sweaty man is dark, like water-resistant fabric.
Oh, you know what, man?
And whatever's happening up here, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You're not seeing the real Titanic shaker. The whole
to back you up,
downtown.
I know a few guys who sweat like a wrestler when they're not doing anything, and you, sir, are one of them.
Thank you. I wear that with pride. I'm very...
You have to.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, I sweat through hoodies.
Oh, man. Greg was wearing his sweat-soaked toque during the job interview, and you were like afraid you'd take it off, and the water would just gush
man,
out.
yeah, no, I was just so hungover, too. Oof.
Hey, just to go off on a slight tangent here, should I be concerned about my feet sweating for no reason, and the rest of my body isn't sweaty at all? Does that mean I'm like low on potassium?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but Greg, you want to speak on this here?
Wait. A bit of a clarification. Are you wearing slippers?
No. This could be like bare feet, sitting on the couch, totally inactive.
Get sweaty.
No sweat in my armpits, forehead, anywhere else. And I just noticed the bottom of my feet are just dripping with sweat.
I might be pregnant.
Disgusting image.
I was gonna say, man, the feet regulate heat. You never know.
They say you lose like a pint of sweat every day. A grown man through your feet, just your feet, like
just my feet.
A day?
I guess normally they're in socks. I'm not a barefoot kind of guy most of the time.
Now I've got a quick video here for you guys to watch. Just one sec. I've got a little.
See if old Grandpa. Andy
I know. I am so.
Screen sharing is tough on the best of us.
Yeah.
See if you
Hey
can.
man, with that new haircut, he can do anything.
That's right.
Yeah, the guys, you can probably hear it in my voice. I had a haircut the other day, so it's
Definitely
You,
like a quarantine.
looks like you piled a bunch of bars of soap in sort of in a pillowcase and went off on your neighbor, your bunkmate.
I went. So my wife, my lovely wife, was like, she's like, you got to get a haircut. Like, and I'm like, just like, okay,
code
let's
red.
get this. It was itchy and stupid and hot and gross, and I was like, ugh. My son also needed a haircut, so we took him on the porch. She practiced on him, and then she took out the razors and practiced on me, and yeah, it's fine. It's fine. She did a good job. I'm very happy with it. There we go. Yeah. Now, this is awesome, Quinn. Now, if you go to 435, you're about to enter the sweat show.
The Twilight. The sweat shop.
The Swilight.
That's a sweatshop.
June Carter, we really need to see it. Look at this.
Oh
Ooh,
yeah,
just
look at that.
dripping.
Yeah, that's like Hulk Hogan WrestleMania 10 right there. Just
Do you want me to try and pause on
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
Like,
get a good. Oh, there's a good one.
look how glistening that
I
is.
think that's cocaine, actually. It's whatever you can get in whatever town you're in.
Yeah, that's right.
like we can agree he's a sweaty guy, right?
He's snorting glitter.
Yeah, just covered in hormone juice.
Oh, jeez.
I can again attest to the fact that the head is not the sweatiest part of the body by any means. Rather, the real juicy times happen elsewhere, and will easily go right through a set of clothes, and you got to wear black. Now, second thing here to support this little theory is that this is probably, there's a lot of really iconic pictures of Johnny Cash, but this one I think is one of the most iconic. This is just behind the San Quentin concert, and it surfaced a couple years later. A lot of people have seen it and been like, what's going on here? The story allegedly was just before Johnny Cash was about to go out and perform, the guy that was directing the documentary was like, hey, do you have a message for the warden? And he's like, here's your message right here. Just, throwing the finger bombs.
message right here, Warden.
Yeah. Giving him the old Mr. Rogers.
Well, the fact that
right
he was
there,
in the-
hey, Charlie? Huh? Fred Roger right there.
That's not what Fred Rogers was
Or
doing.
Fred McFeely, whatever it was.
That's not what Mr. Rogers was doing.
Mr. McFeely?
Now, I want you guys to notice something about this picture here. First of all, he's not wearing any black whatsoever.
Yeah,
So
he's
every
got
once
a-
in a while,
got a
he did
prison
go out
jumpsuit
without
on.
being totally draped in black.
Well, yeah, because he's wearing if you could see this in color, that thing is a bright
Jumpsuit.
orange. Yeah, he's
Better warm up to that warm-ups.
well, because he'd gotten a tour of the prison, and he requested he didn't want to stand out wearing his fancy
he
stage
swung by the
clothes.
merch booth.
Is that actually prison jumpsuit? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was the shirt under his jacket.
No.
No. It's a prison
Right
jumpsuit.
on. That makes it even cooler.
This was he showed up for sound check, right, and had some time to kill. So the warden offered to give him,
Yeah.
a tour. Being in his stage clothes, he was like, "Well,
I don't want
he's
to
like, I
get
don't want
my
to trips around
stage clothes dirty.
in the prison in the stage clothes." And then the warden said, "Hey, well, if you wanted, we could always get you outfitted in one of our in our prison
I'm
blues.
pretty sure we
or
got your
probably
size,
in this
Johnny.
case orange or something."
Do you think they gave him the shower
Yeah.
first, or they like throw him up against a cement wall? And
Deloused him, and all the amphetamines, all the pills fell out of all of his pockets. And then so they were ready for him for sound check, so he went back in the jumpsuit, did the sound check, and because he was wearing the jumpsuit, they'd been joking that he's just like the guys in the prison or whatever. He's like, "Oh, you fit in here
pretty
real nice,"
cool.
and it's like, "Hey, what would you say to the warden?" Yeah, and he turned around and was like,
Warden.
"Ugh," but he had just been hanging out with the warden, like it was all.
It was a joke, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and he was all about that kind of stuff. But it is, even the warden would have appreciated. Like, look at the look on that face. I mean, honestly,
Oh, it's
it
perfect.
is.
It's
yeah.
perfect.
But I mean, regardless, he's not wearing any black in the picture. So he did from time to time. He wasn't like I only wear black because my heart is so tortured
Hey,
and tearing
he
apart.
says right there in the song, I'd love to wear a rainbow every day.
Yeah. So the mythos around him wearing black, like once again, we kind of touched on it briefly with the Rolling Stones thing, where their image is this thing, and it's actually like, if you look at it in reality, it's like
The myth.
Maybe they didn't do it so
The
much,
legend.
but it helps sell
The myth.
records. Anyways, that's basically the whole theory. But I did come across this joke here. So
Yeah.
in the early 2000s, we still had Bob Hope, Johnny Cash, and Steve Jobs. Now we've got no Hope, no Cash or Jobs. Hopefully nothing happens to Kevin Bacon.
How does that work?
That's going to take us to What Are We Drinking? So,
What are we drinking?
Quinn, what are you drinking, man?
A classic, medium-priced shelf of the liquor store. Good old-fashioned Lethbridge Pilsner.
Pilsner.
Thank you for pointing out it's from
vitamin
Lethbridge.
T.
Champagne of the
You
prairies.
understand.
Yeah, not from fucking Saskatchewan, all right? Get over yourselves. Because the colors vaguely match your shitty football team.
And Greg, you got yourself a nice tall glass of water.
Yeah, I have two atoms of oxygen and an atom of hydrogen, like times like a trillion, and it's pretty tasty.
That might be a new first too as well, where it's like you're drinking something that doesn't have alcohol in it. Like, I don't think we've done that on the podcast yet. We're all like having a cup of tea. And Charlie, what have you got there?
I have got a glass of Weiser's Old Fashioned, actually, and it's quite tasty. I'm into it. I'm almost out of it, but I'm into it.
I got
What you, Andy?
I think I featured this before. It's the Irish Red from Sea Change Brewing. This is the brewery here in Beaumont. Once again, they a couple blocks away from my home, and they deliver. So it's like,
you know, Andrew, he's not one to see change it up when he finds something he likes.
Change it up.
We fear change.
I can't get over it. I just can't get over Johnny Cash's Batman.
What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
In my head, I'm just like, I see the train coming. It's rolling around the bend. I haven't seen the Joker since I don't know when.
I didn't realize that Roseanne Cash was a cast member of The Crown.
Yeah, she's very British. I was in Nashville a couple years ago, and I didn't know about this family member, but I saw Johnny Cash's younger sister play a little set at a hotel.
What was her name?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but she looked exactly like Johnny Cash.
You did not do your research.
Joanne.
Let me look it up really
Cash.
quick here, actually.
Karen Cash.
There was also
Tommy Cash, and Tommy Cash had like a very different kind of voice, I thought.
They're still kicking around.
Tommy Cash, if I'm not mistaken, he sounded like...
Sorry, he sounded like what?
That's his biggest hit right there, remember? Down, 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 down. Gold records.
This episode is brought to you by Park Power, a provider of electricity and natural gas in Alberta that offers low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities. Park Power is a small local business, and like many of you, it has been closely monitoring the news on COVID-19 and the world's rapidly changing circumstances. While many of their team are currently working remotely, the way Park Power does business has not changed, and their commitment to exceptional customer service will remain. Find out more about Park Power's response to the COVID-19 outbreak at parkpower.ca.
Okay, so we are going to head over to subject number 2.
Okay, that's my turn. So, as I said earlier, my conspiracy theory, is that Michael Jackson was a modern-day Castrato.
My groin!
Now, you guys are wondering, what's
So,
a
like,
castrato?
he got his thing cut off?
Kinda. I'll get into it. But yes, technically a castrato, not their thing, but their...
Sounds like it.
The beans,
to me,
not the noodle.
anyways, to the layman.
Yeah. They're Ben
A
Wa
castrato
balls.
is someone who's got their cut off, you know, their berries.
That's a eunuch.
Their berries buried.
Buried in the backyard. Yeah,
I don't think you had to bury them when you got
seen
them
or
cut
played
off.
with
I think
again.
You were a baby when they cut them off.
Maybe dug out by the dog. Now, Michael Jackson, I'm not going to say that he had anything cut off, but just to give you a definition of a castrato, like a proper one, not just had his nuts cut off, is a type of classical male singing voice equivalent to that of a soprano or mezzo-soprano. The idea was that young boys in the church often, this was very popular apparently, the last living castrato, I believe, was still around in 1922.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, man.
And
There's a recording of him.
Yeah, there is a recording, and if you listen to it, you'd be like, okay, that sounds like a woman singing, not a man. But the idea is that they'd be able to maintain this mezzo-soprano voice. Like, there's a quality in young boys that was considered at the time even better than a girl's or like a woman's voice. And so in an effort to maintain that voice, these boys would have their testicles removed before they entered puberty. So therefore, their voices wouldn't change. You know, they would still grow and whatnot, but a lot of the time they stayed very effeminate. There's some physical attributes like they noticed in them, elongated ribs and torso and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, it's something that eventually obviously fell out of favor. So where Michael Jackson comes into this is that The idea is that now there's a couple of versions of this, and I'll give you both. Basically, whether it was intentional or accident. And of course, I can save that for opinion time. But the idea is that, yeah, exactly, is that when the Jackson 5 were at their height of their popularity, Michael Jackson was just starting to hit his early preteens. I feel like when they first started having hits, he might have even been 9 years old or something like that. And it was a matter of time. He started to show the signs of puberty. Now, with that comes acne, as we all know. And for somebody who's young on television, has a very controlling father, he's prescribed this very kind of experimental acne treatment, better than whatever they had at the time. I don't even know if they had
Proactive.
Yeah, they didn't have Proactive, the just shit you wipe on your face that dries you out or whatever, right? So they used this stuff called Cyprotone or something like that, or Kyprotone? Probably Cyprotone. And so by the time he hit age 12, he was getting these injections. Now, one of the side effects of this stuff is that it has the potential to chemically castrate. And in fact, this same stuff has been used to chemically castrate sex offenders, pedophiles, that sort of thing.
So here, try this and clear up your acne.
Yeah, but they didn't necessarily know that at the time. A doctor came along and was like, this will take care of your acne. And, Joe Jackson being Joe Jackson was like, shoot the kid up with it. He needs to stay young and beautiful forever, right? Now, this is a rumor, or I would theory, a conspiracy I've heard going back to the 90s. I remember that even South Park touched on it. If you guys remember Chef the episode and then the subsequent album, Primus did a song about Dr. Mephisto, who was, their parody of Island of Dr. Monroe. Yeah. Anyway, and that he was cloning animals and trying to give them extra butts or whatever. And he had a little lab assistant called Kevin. Kevin was this joke about trying to clone Michael Jackson. And if you listen to the song called I Am Gopher Boy on Chef Aid album, it explains that he was cloned from a young castrati named Mike or Jack Michelson.
Not copywritten. Please don't sue. Not the same person.
And that's why he sang so beautifully, I am Gopher Boy. Anyway. So I remember back then, this is the late 90s, I think, at the time, maybe 2000-ish, being like, whoa, what are they talking about? And looking into it and hearing this Michael Jackson is a modern-day castrati. Well, a couple of years ago, Michael Jackson's doctor, Conrad Murray, the doctor who administered the fatal shot that, he was giving Michael Jackson for sleep, and then was convicted or whatever. After Joe Jackson passed away, came out and said that, Michael Jackson had told him that his father had given him the shot when he was a child to intentionally chemically castrate him. So now that's been, disputed, but you have the guy who did have a close personal relationship with Michael Jackson, saying that, he told me himself that he was chemically castrated.
That's what he filled out on the form when he kept bringing them in. He just checked the box for Castrato.
It's got kids.
Have you seen those kids?
A few of them. Well, actually,
they don't look anything.
One of them, I think her name's Paris or something like that. She kind of looks like him.
Yeah,
I think they all look like him.
She looks like her mom, I think.
No, she's got that chin and that fake nose looking thing.
And you got to remember what he looked like.
Hold on. That's you don't inherit a fake.
You get a fake nose. I don't think you can pass that along to your kids.
It's great. You can pass it along to anybody. Come on, guys.
If she has that nose, that's not his nose.
All I'm saying is that he does have children. He's allegedly has children.
His daughter does look a lot like him. I know what you're saying there, Greg. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's basically the theory in a nutshell. I mean, you can get into more details, but it would explain a lot.
Oh boy!
Really quick before we get to opinion time, basically, I was thinking we would just go around the circle of friendship here and mention something that we've been getting into. It can be a show, it can be a game, it can be a movie, whatever. It can be two things. It can be whatever, something that you're like, I've been digging this.
What are we binging?
I've been really Like in Sekiro, I always come into things late because I'm like old and I'm just catching up. So Sekiro, the Xbox game, it came out like 2018, 2019. It's really hard. It's really fun. And I've also been watching Bruise Brothers on Netflix, which is it's not that great, but there's some pretty funny jokes. And the Monk Monday one alone, like there is just some comedy gold that will make me laugh for the rest of my life. Like there's just moments. It's overall, I would give it a pass, but there are moments when I'm like, this is really funny. And then Greg, I think, was saying that it's the same guys that made The League, which I've only heard good things about. So I'm like, oh, beautiful.
Which is a gateway for you to start binging.
Haven't seen The League, but yeah, it's a gateway show.
Half of the cast of The League does voices on Big Mouth.
Pretty much. Big Mouth is also a great one.
But yeah, so Quinn,
Tiger King, just like everybody else. Just finished season 3 of Ozark. That was pretty good. There was no movies I've really needed to catch up on, except for a couple of horrors. I hadn't seen Hereditary or Midsummer, so I watched both of those. Same director, I forget his name right now. But there've been a bunch of hype around both of those movies, so I finally caught up on those. And I have to say I recommend Hereditary over Midsummer. I enjoyed Midsummer, but it's definitely the artier of the two, and a lot of people are going to be like, I don't get it, nothing happens, this is stupid. So, not for you. But Hereditary, definitely enjoyable for people who are like, yeah, I get it, things are scary now.
Yeah, how about you, Greg?
What are you binging, man?
I just started watching Legion.
Yeah, you did. I am very excited for you.
Oh, good.
I'm going to crush it, dude. I already done season 1. Getting into season 2 tonight.
Yes.
As for that, actually, I also picked up a couple books from the Glass Bookshop as well. So good call on that one there, Quinn. Andre Alexis, 15 Dogs. Check it out. It's about 2 gods that give 15 dogs the consciousness of men and let them live. So it's pretty interesting.
Oh,
so
Quarantine.
What have you been binging, man?
Oh, me. Oh, well, thank you for asking. I've started reading the classic graphic novel, The Watchmen, for the first time ever.
Yay!
I cannot believe you've... Okay, no judgment. I'm sorry, but I'm glad.
Fine. We'll talk. Like we said,
let him read it.
Let me finish it, and we'll have a talk, a good old chin wag about it, and we'll throw it.
Better ending in the graphic novel than the movie.
I haven't seen the movie either.
You'll have to get there, Charlie.
I haven't seen the movie either, so...
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
What? Yep.
Why would I watch a movie of something that I wasn't interested in the book of?
It's a double whammy.
So I just skipped it. But now, once I finish going through it, I'll check it out. Maybe I'll even check out the HBO series after. So I guess you could say I'm binging some Watchmen right now. That's pretty good. Yeah. For video games, our bass player, Bootsy Klein, happened to have an extra copy of Red Dead Redemption 2 for Xbox One that I traded her for my weight's worth of beer in. So I've been doing some cowboy shit, which is pretty great. You know what? Here's an under the radar one that we started watching. It's a remake. It's a series, but it's a remake of the movie of High Fidelity.
What?
Yeah, and it's on Hulu, so it's kind of hard to track down, but we found a copy of it. It's only 10 episodes so far, but it's largely the same story. It's basically the same story, but they do some gender bending. So, like, the main character, Rob, is now a female, and some roles are reversed, and there's a lot of interesting ways that they do the exact same story from the movie, and it's really cool. I saw the first episode, and I was like... I said, we're gonna watch the rest of this, but we have to go back and watch the movie first because, like, I want to catch all the references. I want to catch all the
lines. Reference, yeah.
So good. Like that's when we were
Rex Manning.
when you were talking about John Cusack weighing in on that 5G theory, I was like, I just immediately thought of High Fidelity, and I was like, no,
it's one of my top 5 most rewatchable movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. The Girl Tries Life podcast is a fellow Alberta Podcast Network member and is all about showing that women are capable of anything when they have the right tools, strategies, and mindset in place. I'm your host, Victoria Smith, a stress reduction coach who is all about helping you reduce your stress so that you can actually enjoy your daily life. Imagine that. In the Girl Tries Life podcast, we alternate between interviews with incredibly inspiring ladies who break down how they got to where they are, and coaching episodes that leave you with tangible resources and skills for your own life. Life isn't stressless, but we can help you stress less. So I hope that you'll check out the Girl Tries Life podcast. You can find it at girltrieslife.com/podcast. And remember, the most important thing in life is that you try.
Greg, do you remember what our first theory was?
Did Johnny Cash wear black because he was a badass or just because he was fake?
Why?
Oh, no, wait, no. I wasn't,
fake ass.
I wasn't commenting on his authenticity as a tortured soul. I was saying,
wow.
He was
off.
He was a big, sweaty man. Anyways, okay. Oh, fair enough. Charlie, do you remember what the second theory was?
Alfred, kill Greg. He's saying the wrong things. Kill Greg.
I'm not wearing hockey pads. Hockey pads. Hockey pads.
The second theory?
Yeah.
The second theory was Michael Jackson, a castrato.
A castrato.
Is Michael Jackson a soprano? No, was Michael Jackson a castrato?
In The Sopranos.
I don't know. We can start with the Johnny Cash one here. Does anyone have any feelings on this?
The Johnny Cash one is super easy because there's a ton of biographies, autobiographies. I've read the Johnny Cash autobiography like
Cash by
5
Johnny
times.
Cash.
He says it right in there. He's like, early on, we were pretty dirt poor. There was, 2 auto mechanics, and he was a door-to-door salesman. They needed stage suits. All they could afford was cheap black fabric, so their suits were tailored out of just cheap black, like polyester or something. And they kind of just got a reputation as being the band that would show up all wearing black, when at the time, especially in country western music, the thing was nudie suits. And Nathan Turk, if you've ever heard of him, like everybody was wearing spangly fucking rhinestones and sequins and all that sort of stuff. And so he leaned into it.
He also wore a lot of spangly, colorful stuff as well that just kind of got forgotten.
Yeah, there's plenty of pictures of him early on, but, people would always bring up the fact that, like, oh, yeah, I remember you guys always being the band that stuck out because while everybody else was being super colorful, you guys just had these plain black suits. At the end of the day, really, honestly, like, whether it was really that calculated, it was more marketing than anything, right? And then, he wrote a song that was like, all right, well, everybody, thinks of me in black. Fuck it, I am the man in black.
I agree with that. I think that he cultivated an image that sold records, and it's like, I'm a tortured soul, and I'm just void, I'm empty, and blah. So
I never ever got that idea from Johnny Cash that he was this tortured soul.
But I mean, see, this is the thing. He wrote those words, and then his own daughter in 2008, years after he passed away, was like, he was a vacuum and a heart and just convulsions. So that's where.
Well, that's her though, and she sees herself as an artiste.
She's also still making his royalty.
She went through an early pop phase when she was pretty young, so I feel like later on she's wanted to be taken more seriously as an artist. And when she's commented on anything, she's always been a little grandiose in her language and added a little more like weight to it. But when you hear Johnny Cash in his own words, he never added that like level of like
the words of the song "Man in Black."
I don't know, man. I feel like he wore the black for those who never read, or maybe listened to the words that Jesus said,
Speaking from your heart, Tyler.
Yeah, okay, but that's him leaning into this myth of like, why do you wear black? Okay, well here's why I wear black. It was
plus, I mean, I think it would be a lot less good of a song if it was like, well, you wonder why I always dress in black because of the sweat that runs down my back. I think that's it's not quite as good of a song,
man. That would be the truth. It'd be sweat that runs down
imagine,
my crack.
Have you ever worn polyester on stage?
All the time.
Have you had to perform at a wedding and be in a full suit?
Polyester suit, man, I'd be like a melted candle. Like I wouldn't be able to leave. I'd be just, we're going to leave him there. Sorry, he's welded to the floor.
He's part of the stage now.
So, Greg, what do you think? JC, was he a real guy or?
Oh man, we're still talking about him. That faker? Come on, man.
I love it.
I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, so yeah, I don't mean any of that. Fuck, I'm a sweaty dude. And speaking as a former cook, black clothes, they hide it the best. Until like an hour after it all dries, and then you can like extract the salt and use it for seasoning. But it's just a suit. I think like Quinn said, he just leaned into it hard, and made money off it. If I can make money off being a sweaty POS, fuck yeah.
Yeah, man.
Again, I think that's called being a wrestler.
Well, it's the thing is that you never know what parts of your performance, your persona, or your image are going to take off. And some people are like, oh, these guys are drug addicts. We should buy their records. And oh, one of these guys died in a car accident. Let's buy their records. Oh, this guy dresses in black all the time because he's so sad and vacant. Let's buy his record. It's real. It's part of the image, man. We get real touchy about that stuff. Okay, so number 2. Greg, do you want to start us off with this one here with little MJ? You're an MJ man.
I really like this one, man. I've never heard this before. It fills into like a lot of other Michael Jackson conspiracies, and just another little thing to think about. I don't know if I want to say I wish it was real, because it just makes it a hell of a lot more interesting. But definitely it makes for a good story.
So maybe, yeah, Greg, Charlie, what do you think?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
all right, good enough. Leave it at that.
You know, so I mean, acne sucks, right?
Yeah.
You don't want acne, and if this happened in a time before, you know, you got Clear Cell or any of those other regular products, I mean, people don't really know what the long-term effects are. So, I mean, it's not outside of...
Well, they probably had Clear Cell, but they didn't have Proactive.
Okay. But like, yeah, the higher, the more potent stuff, right?
But like, okay, we all went through junior high. I mean, how well did those Clear Cell pads work for you?
There's some stuff that you just can't clear up. I mean, I'm hiding it pretty well. I got some pre-show makeup on because this is an audio podcast. So, but
I thought it was just your juggalo.
But it's not outside the realm of possibility that it was another thing. It wasn't the initial reason for it, but it happened. So what are you gonna do? You know, we just tried to clear up his acne. Turns out, you know, he's got that keeps that high voice forever.
Yeah, you know, that logic, man. They're like we got to keep this voice forever. It's like the golden egg that's keep making us this money. The story behind Michael Jackson, that's the exact same logic that these like choir boys were being castrated for. I mean, that's what castrato is like, and it has this castrati name. So I immediately think of like Goodfellas, where the guy's got his head in a vice and Joe Pesci's like just squishing it. But
it's hard to say castrato and not think
nuts
of
in there.
like
And you're just like, no.
Hard
but
cut.
No, man. I mean, I got to say, like this. The sad thing about it is that I'm not one to be like, oh, these facts fit the theory. But the thing is that he had that voice all the way up, and he had some strange behavior. You know, I mean, whether or not it's real or not, like he's an interesting case study. And this theory does lend itself to like, well, that kind of lines up with other things. I'm not saying that means it's true. That's causation and correlation, but it does happen to sort of coincide with a lot of other.
Well, those are the best conspiracy theories, right?
They always are.
That like connect all the dots. And this is what I'll say about it is that's what I find really appealing about it is you're like, you can just plug this in and be like, oh my God, that explains his seemingly, other than, of course, let's just put the pedophilia accusations aside. But before that, like, he was always seen as somebody who like was almost asexual in a way. You know, like people would be blown away when he would have a date to like the MTV Awards or something, because they'd be like, "Really, Wacko Jacko? Like with a woman? Huh? Wouldn't have figured it." But it also just like, his how effeminate he stayed, that his voice stayed in a high register, even his talking voice was very soft and very, you know. And just also like, that Joe Jackson was obviously, you know, you've heard many stories about what he put not just like Michael Jackson through, but the rest of the Jackson 5, like all of his children through, you know, and they all came out, you know, not all that well adjusted for the most part, right? You know, like maybe Janet is the best off, but was the youngest by a long shot.
She wasn't part of that kid thing. She wasn't one of the Jackson 5.
No, but like Latoya didn't come out normal. None of them came out normal. But that's where I would also say like, well, okay. And of course, then you have Conrad Murray comes being like, it's true, it's all true. But he waited till Joe Jackson was dead. His career had been ruined, you know, being convicted, losing his medical license and being convicted of malpractice.
I think manslaughter too.
Yeah. And so, of course, now he's got to find ways to generate interest and potential income. Right? Unreliable at best, you know? And then on top of that, obviously they went through, all of them as children, but Michael Jackson especially being like the forefront, went through such a traumatic childhood that and I've known people like this, it's anecdotal, but definitely known people. You're like, oh, you're stuck at 9 years old mentally.
Yeah.
Something very traumatic happened to you as a child. And, I know somebody very well who still talks very soft. Their outlook on the world is very childlike. And you're like, okay, well, you're not Michael Jackson, but a creepy uncle or something. Just...
Or a chemical imbalance, man. I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah, or a chemical imbalance too. But I would just say from what we documented, what we know to be factual about what Michael Jackson, his brothers, his whole family went through at the behest of their father, I would say that lends a little more credence to life. His behavior has more to do with stunted, arrested development than it does with chemical castration. And when he's 16, 17, 18, 19, you can forgive it a little bit. He's putting out fucking awesome fucking pop and disco hits. Like, they're great. They got that, Quincy Jones. They've got that Quincy Jones magic all over them. Yeah, he's still young, whatever. It's like...
Get a young Eddie Van Halen.
And at the time, we didn't have the internet to scrutinize people like the way Justin Bieber gets scrutinized, right?
That's right. So what you're saying is leave Bieber alone.
So, even though I love the theory, love it, I think that it's more a convenient sort of like way to make sense of who Michael Jackson was, but I would chalk it up more to trauma than I would to chemical castration.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, grab me a corn dog off the counter. Wasn't that a triage of friendship and wonder? That should be a forage because there's 4 of us here. Yes, sir, it was. We really do appreciate you stopping by for a listen, and please feel free to rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell your enemies, spread the good word. Thank you, Quinn, for joining us. And check out Learning to Listen. They come out every Tuesday. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Every Tuesday morning. Yeah. You can check out all of our past casts and social media stuff at itsconspiracypodcast.com. We will be back on May 1st with our Cars special. Charlie is a car expert, so it'll be nice to hear him chime in on this stuff. And we have a couple of special guests coming in for that one as well. So many specials. Thanks for listening, and take care.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Hockey band, hockey band, hockey band, hockey band, hockey band, hockey band.